Hey YouTube, it's ShryphonX here. Today we're going to be talking about Boruto, 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 27. Like and subscribe for more content. Boruto's secret weapon against 10 Tails has been revealed. Boruto, 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 27. As Mamushi prepares his invasion with his army of clones, Boruto begins preparing for a weapon that cannot be broken or can even destroy the God Tree itself. Boruto, 2 Blue Vortex, Chapter 27 is titled, Betting One's Life. This chapter has 40 pages, including the chapter cover. The cover features Inogen Yamanaka wearing a yellow and purple jacket with a tanto tied to his backpack. The background looks like paper with a sketch close-up of Inogen and some kanji that reads, Ascertain True Justice, which ties into his alliance with Boruto. Editor's note: Sarada and Sumair's immunity to Ida's charm has been exposed. How will Demon counter? The chapter begins where we left off with Demon holding the necks of Sarada and Sumair. However, this did not lead to a fight. Instead, this was Demon's reminder that he could kill them before they even have a chance to react. Ida explains that she finds it strange that 2 girls who are not Otsutsuki or her relatives are unaffected by omnipotence. She also dismisses the idea that it is because they are both in love with Boruto and Otsutsuki, since there are other girls in the Leaf Village who have a crush on either him or Kawaki, yet they are affected by omnipotence. This leaves one answer, that Ida herself gave an exception to the 2 of them, a subconscious recognition that the 2 girls are her real friends. Ida recalls how Sarada once said that they should be normal friends and that it made her so happy as it was her deepest wish even before meeting them, and this time, she knows the 2 mean her no harm. Even then, if the 2 girls were the ones to end her, it would not be so bad for her. Suddenly, Sarada squeezes Sumair's hand and runs towards Ida for a hug, which for Sarada is a declaration of her resolve and commitment to be there for Ida. Ida asks her 2 actual friends to be good to her. Meanwhile, while telepathically linked to Shikamaru via Inogen, Koji reveals Mamushi's power, the ability to split apart. However, this is totally unlike Shadow Clones or second Tsuchikage Mu's Fishin Jutsu. Both have limits and spread chakra around each other, making both the user and each clone weaker than the complete original. On the other hand, Mamushi's copies are all the real body. However, this has a weakness, as all jutsu, even shinjutsu do. Mamushi loses intelligence with every clone produced, along with lower pain thresholds and simpler movements. In other words, he is still as strong as his full self, but becomes dumber, slower, and easier to mow down. Shikamaru sees the easy, optimal solution is to let Mamushi multiply so much he is unable to think properly. Koji has one more important note: crush both of Mamushi's eyes. If both eyes are destroyed, the clone cannot produce more clones. Additionally, for every clone destroyed, the others regain a bit of their intelligence. Shikamaru sees the dilemma. Leave too few and the Leaf will have a hard time fighting, but leave too many and it will be harder to control the enemy. Koji advises that they should aim for 20 to 30 clones, and they should treat Mamushi like an animal herd that they can corral to defeat every single clone in one blow. Shikamaru asks a good question. What if Mamushi leaves a clone behind in a hideout? Koji tells him not to worry about that, as the clones have an innate tendency to swarm. So even if Mamushi plans to leave one clone behind, that clone will inevitably be drawn to where the majority is. Inogen asks why the Leaf Village has to be the place to exterminate him, rather than go after him directly. Koji says that this will prevent Jura's involvement, since while Boruto and Himawari are his targets, the Leaf is not. This is because it seems that he has taken a liking to the Leaf Village, since he always visits the bookstore and sweet shop. This leads into the first sneak peek, as in a present or past scene. We see Jura eating sweets and drinking tea in a sweet shop in the Leaf Village. Koji remarks that since Jura has deemed fighting in a leaf village unacceptable, Mamushi would make sure not to make Jura, his superior, angry and thus prevent unwarranted destruction of the village. Boruto asks if this will be the same if he loses intelligence while splitting into an army of clones. Koji points out that it's a basic instinct, and Mamushi will always maintain his fear of Jura and his instinct to devour Ida. Since Ida is confined to the leaf, the best place to trap him is the village itself. Koji instructs Inogen to master a new jutsu, which will be crucial in the battle against Mamushi. This jutsu is backward compatible with the mind transfer jutsu. Koji foresaw Mamushi's arrival within a week or less, so Inogen has only 2 days to master this jutsu. Inogen is hesitant about mastering a jutsu he's unfamiliar with. Koji explains that this jutsu was created by Inogen in the future to avenge Himawari, which alarms Inogen. Seeing the change in Inogen's eyes, Koji clarifies that this is a future to avoid, but he also saw great value in the experiences Inogen gained in that future. Inogen is determined to master this jutsu within a single day. Meanwhile, Amato examines photos of Jura with Kawaki, confirming that the divine tree, the tree Jura controlled in Chapter 24, Kawaki Uzumaki, to heal himself, is the same divine tree. Not only can Jura heal himself, but also serves as an impenetrable shield to protect himself. Just as the Ten Tails is separated from Kagaya in the anime, or the divine tree is separate from the Ten Tails Jinchuriki, we also observe that Jura, the incarnation of the Ten Tails owned by Ishiki, treats the divine tree as a mere extension. However, it's important to note that this is a divine tree that requires an Otsutsuki to bear fruit. For Amato, Ishiki is an unbeatable opponent, but Kawaki disagrees. During their intense fight, Kawaki boldly asserts that Jura is vulnerable, even considering the divine tree's power. Kawaki demands that Amato must possess even greater strength. Amato warns Kawaki that his body will not be able to withstand such immense power, but Kawaki effortlessly lifts him up by the throat, reminding Amato of their pact to assist his daughter. Amato gazes upon his daughter Akaba's lifeless body. Kawaki reminds Amato that he is indifferent to his own fate or the fate of others. He asserts that either he will eliminate the enemy at its core or perish in the attempt. Meanwhile, Konohamaru is subjected to interrogation by Kobu, who dismisses his excuse of being present during Boruto's interrogation. In fact, Kobu accuses him of acting like a mole. Konohamaru admits that initially, he harbored resentment towards Boruto, but he has recently come to realize inconsistencies in his public image as a traitor. Kobu observes that Konohamaru has been tactfully manipulated and seems unaware of his predicament. Kobu criticizes Konohamaru's tactlessness, suggesting that it belies his intelligence and makes him unbecoming of a mole. This revelation implies that the mole is someone else. As Kobu draws this conclusion, Shikamaru intervenes through Inogen's mind transmission, instructing Konohamaru to listen attentively and respond without using his voice. Shikamaru directly addresses Konohamaru, confessing that he is the one who allowed Boruto to escape by revealing the passcode and freeing his cuffs. Shikamaru even confides in Konohamaru that he has collaborated with Boruto on his own accord. Konohamaru is astounded that the 8th Hokage would even consider such a move. As Konohamaru contemplates Boruto's assistance in dealing with Matsuri, Shikamaru requests Konohamaru's support and the strength of his group. Of course, the final decision rests solely with Konohamaru. As Konohamaru trails off silently, Sai observes him suspiciously. Will Sai, the AMBU chief, choose to side with Shikamaru and Konohamaru, or will he betray them for the sake of the Land of Fire, a higher power than his home, the Leaf Village? Back at Ida's place, Samire intends to visit the lab. Sarada intends to join her, but Ida grabs her enthusiastically, informing her that they have unfinished business. It appears that we will have another girl talk chapter in the near future. Is this chapter the first romance-centric chapter featuring Kawaki? As Samaire steps out, Boruto appears beside the door. Mitsuki observes them from a distance. Boruto presents Sasuke's chipped sword, which still channels Boruto's lightning chakra through Uchiha sword style, cloaked sword. The technique could have prevented the sword from chipping, but since he let his guard down against Jura, this was the unfortunate outcome. Therefore, he approaches Samaire, seeking her assistance in repairing the sword. He even provides her with a scroll containing a jutsu formula, but he refrains from elaborating on more details, presumably to avoid spoiling the plot for the audience. Now, we have 2 new mystery jutsu that will be unveiled in due time, this time for Samaire to use in her efforts to repair the blade. It's intriguing how the new hasn't been mentioned in the manga yet. This jutsu seems to transform the blade into something entirely different. It could be a new weapon for Boruto's future battles against the human god trees, another departure from the initial scene of the Boruto series. Alternatively, it might be the intended outcome, since we know Kawaki possesses Sukune Hikona, which can shrink inanimate objects. This new sword could potentially resist the shrinking technique or even serve as a countermeasure against the Kokugan itself. Considering Boruto's current focus on fighting Jura, this sword might even be able to cut down the divine tree. Samaire inquires if Boruto is okay with this change, and he responds that Sasuke wouldn't have minded if he were around. Samaire also advises Boruto not to call her class prez anymore, but her actions suggest a desire for a closer bond with him. The chapter concludes with Mamushi arriving with his army of clones a few days after Boruto's visit to Ida's place. Mamushi instructs his clones to erase their chakra signatures, similar to how Otsutsuki and human god trees can do, and to avoid letting them detect their demon window.